Well, who's ready for Game 7 in the 6?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Well. If that wasn't a game, fellas, 6-2 Blue Jays. They come out and take Game 6 in a do-or-die situation, and they're teeing themselves up for another one because tonight is going to be, I don't know, my heart might stop working. I might lose all of my hair. The boys are going to be in trouble, but not on the Blue Jays side of things. We're hoping that they're going to come out on top. Game 7, it's sort of the moment all baseball fans wait for. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasco. He's Carter First. Skylar Peters joining us. You can find us on Twitter. Brayden 5 Iwasco. Carter First 2. Skylar A. Peters as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Big thank you to all you guys. We hit the 4,000 mark. So, that's all to you guys. We appreciate it. All the baseball Blue Jays fans out there, thanks a ton. I appreciate the comments. I think we got like 600 of them. A lot of people complaining about Brennan Little, which is fair enough. But let's keep that in the past. Let's focus on the ball game that was, and then tee up Game 7 for you guys. We're going to talk the bullpen. A little bit of George Springer because he didn't look good. But we'll talk more about that later on. Carter, my man, they grabbed this one. What a just exhilarating game. Trey Yesavage again on the bump, puts out an absolute showing.
Yeah, exactly the way I drew it up. You score early, you get exactly what you want from Trey Yesavage. I have said it a bunch of times. I'm not really worried about what Trey Yesavage is going to do. He's going to get the whiffs. He's going to get the chases. He's going to get the strikeouts like he has every single other start. Maybe this one I was a little bit more worried about, hey, the moment. This is, a massive moment, obviously. It's an elimination game. It's the guy's 6th start. Like, that's, I keep going back to, like, the starts that this guy's made in the major leagues and just how effective he is. Absolutely ridiculous. At this point, there's no moment that's going to be too big for Trey Yesavage. So, yeah, credit to him and credit to the offense for, once again, putting up runs early. I would have liked them to, score a little bit more when they had the opportunities, but Aston Parcher, big day. You keep adding on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. once again. This guy's been absolutely ridiculous this entire postseason. They took care of business. They did what they needed to do, and now the biggest game in a very long time for the Toronto Blue Jays. I am nervous, excited, terrified, pretty much every single emotion. I just can't wait until we get the baseball game on Monday.
Well, and, talking about big moments and probably since the last big moment, you got to give congratulations also to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, he hits the sixth home run here in the postseason as he ties Joey Bats and Joe Carter at 6 for most in a single postseason. So congratulations to him. It was an absolutely amazing game. But Peters, will start here. Trey Yesavage, just how electric was he tonight?
So good. Just looked it up actually while Carter was talking. If you had to put a number on how many days it's been since Trey Yesavage first stepped on the bump as an MLB pitcher, what would you guess?
What day is it today? 20th, I guess. So let's say 33 days.
I'm going to go with like 41. Oh, 41.
If you're watching this on Monday, obviously the podcast comes out on Monday, it will be 35 days.
Oh, there you go.
Since Trey Yesavage made his major league debut, sort of, in a minor league ballpark against the Tampa Bay Rays. It's kind of crazy. I don't think he has a pulse because you think about everything he's played at all these different levels this year. There's a little bit of pressure that comes with that, obviously. You make your MLB debut, probably the most pressure-packed moment of most major league players' career because, everyone does that at some point. You make a playoff start at home against the New York Yankees. You make an ALCS start, and now you do it with your team's back against the wall, and Trey Yesavage delivered at 22 years old. And he was asked in the post game about how does he kind of manage, the crowd and the pressure. And it's not, he said it, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, it's not about, managing, my anxiety with the crowd and the pressure. It's about how do I use it? And that's why I had a lot of confidence in this Blue Jays team tonight. And I will have that confidence in the Blue Jays on Monday in Game 7, because we are at the Rogers Center. We are the team with the most home victories in the major leagues this year. And I think, you saw the pressure on the Seattle Mariners. You look at Eugenio Suarez dropping that baseball when, it was Ernie Clement hitting it right to him, should have been a dead out. And that, that turns into an inning for the Blue Jays. 3 errors in total for the Mariners tonight. They did not look like the team that was up 3-2 in this series. And the Blue Jays have done what they've done all year, and they are such a fundamentally sound team. Elite defense, 5 Gold Glove finalists, and it showed tonight, in every facet of the game. We got big hits from guys. I think Addison Barger's really coming around the last couple of games in this series. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is on another planet right now. He is the best hitter in baseball, except for Shohei Ohtani. On a night where Cal Raleigh went quiet, 0 for 4. Cal Raleigh has 3 home runs in this series. He also has 3 RBIs. The Blue Jays have managed his at-bats perfectly, and the Blue Jays have just done everything, in their control with the home crowd behind them. That's what 94 wins has done for this team, and they get to obviously maintain that home field advantage for the biggest game this franchise has played in 32 years tomorrow night.
Yeah, and you know what, Skylar, you mentioned Cal Raleigh, and that was a big talking point for us. We were watching it, me, Carter, and Justin, as roommates. And the thing that kept popping up into my mind is what we always said about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., right? Can you show up in the big moments when the lights are the brightest? And we gave him a lot of grief, but he has been straight up fantastic. And Cal Raleigh, as good as he has been, this was a big moment. This was a moment that you expect your best player to step up and do something. But he did nothing. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. pimps a home run. He, with bases loaded, gets one stolen. That's a good play by Eugenio Suarez. I'm going to struggle with that one every time.
But I didn't think, where do we throw this A on there? Is that new this season? Or maybe I wasn't paying attention. Because I thought it was just Eugenio Suarez. And now we're throwing this A on there.
I think it's
Eugenio for sure. Yeah, you're going to struggle with that.
Lots of syllables.
Yeah, there's too many. I get the jumble mouth. Yeah, but you know what? He makes that play and takes a great at bat away from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who would have scored base runners on that. And that was a great hit. He hit it hard. He hit that ball hard. It was taken away. Me and Carter looked at each other and we're like, well, he hit that hard. Maybe you want him to punch a ball into the gap for sure, but
you want him to elevate the baseball. That's what you wanted. But.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then he goes in the next at bat and does exactly that and sends a ball to the moon. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has shown up. He has been that guy. And right now, if at the end of the day, this team goes on, he's going to be your choice for MVP. Now, they still got a game to play and another team to get through. But this team now has, I think, the confidence going into Game 7. I think they know that they can beat anybody right now, and especially the Mariners after just doing that. And with Shane Bieber on the bump, I think that's huge. We'll talk about a little bit of that, more about that later. But just the rest of this offense, Carter, just how good they have been, right? From 1 to 9, like we always talk about.
Yeah, you talk about MVPs, and it has to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. when you're talking about the Blue Jays. But if Vladdy's not on this team, a guy that's a dark horse, and he shouldn't even really be a dark horse candidate, is Ernie Clement. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. Whether it's going the other way, whether it's fighting off tough pitches, whether it's taking absurd swings and still getting the barrel to the baseball, this guy is doing it in every single way. I have a stat here from Arden as well. Highest batting average in a postseason, minimum 40 at-bats. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is at number 4. He's at 462. Ernie Clement at number 5 at 447. This guy's OPS is over 1100 at this point. It's almost seeming like he's quietly putting up these numbers just because you have Vladdy, you have Kirk, having these big at-bats. You have multiple guys throughout the order, as in Barger really stole the show offensively today, that Ernie Clement always seems to be like the second or third guy that you're talking about in a baseball game. But this is the guy that's always right in the middle of every single big inning. We look at the inning where they scored 2 runs, obviously taking advantage of the Mariners defense. Just want to backtrack. Eugenio Suarez, how does he make the Vladdy play, but he can't make the one that Ernie Clement hits right to him? He, for some reason, looks to second to throw Daulton Varsho out. This guy's a veteran. He's played third base a long time. Don't know why you're doing that. But Ernie Clement finding himself right in the middle of the play once again. And even when he doesn't hit the ball as best he could, or maybe he gets a little bit unlucky and he hits a ball hard, right? Eugenio Suarez, he's hustling out. He's hustling as hard as he can, full on effort, and he beats it out. And obviously that is a massive point in the game for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, whether it's Vladdy, whether it's Kirk, Ernie Clement, Barger in this game, we needed the offense to show up, and they did that for the Blue Jays in Game 6. So going to Game 7, you got to have faith in Shane Bieber. The bullpen, for me, we took Trey Yesavage out, and I don't know if it's just because Trey Yesavage is that electric, but I was terrified watching some of these bullpen arms kind of go at it. But you kind of have an idea of what the bullpen's going to do. You have an idea of what Shane Bieber's going to do. This entire year, it's been reliant on the offense. If the offense shows up once again in Game 7, I'm very confident that the Toronto Blue Jays will be in the World Series against the juggernaut team, the Dodgers, but we'll worry about that when we get there.
Yeah, it's just tough, right? Because we look back at this series, and it's been such different baseball. It seems like from each 2-game span, right? You got the Mariners that come out and look like, oh my God, and shock the world and scared Blue Jays fans half to death. And then the Blue Jays punch back. And I think that's the biggest thing I take away from this is this team's always ready to punch back. They're never gonna lie down and accept defeat. They're gonna keep going. We're going to come back. I do want to get your guys' opinion on just some of the bull talk. I don't want to say opinion, I guess. We're going to talk a little bit about the bullpen, Jeff Hoffman, and how he's been, how this sets up the bullpen for the following game, Game 7, and a couple other guys. Obviously, George Springer, a little bit of Daulton Varsho. So we're going to get into all that, but let's take a quick break. We'll come back, and tons more to talk about right after this. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. You guys know how much I love Game Time. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, takes all the fun out of it. I think my least favorite thing when I buy tickets is getting that surprise fee right at the end, right? You think you're paying this, but then you get to the cart and it's an extra $20, $30 on top. So yeah, Game Time is really the place to go. The app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see, like I said, the price you pay. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, boys, continuing on, I did want to get your thoughts on the bullpen. You go out there, you use Louis Varland once again, because apparently you have to use him in every baseball game. It's in his contract somewhere.
His arm's going to fall off. It's his 8th appearance in 9 postseason games. It's actually incredible.
Nobody better. And then you go to Jeff Hoffman for 2 innings here, which I think 100% was the right move. I really liked what I saw to Hoffman in that inning. Peters, where do you stand on this? Do you think they pulled Yesavage too early? Do you like how the bullpen was able to handle this game? And sort of how does it set you up for Game 7 with this bullpen?
No, I think it was handled perfectly fine. I think Jeff Hoffman is a guy that, has shown he's capable of going obviously more than 3 outs at times. He's done that for the Toronto Blue Jays. 2 innings was, kind of uncharted territory, at least in his time with this baseball club. But Louis Varland is, he's one of your guys. And that circle of trust is like this after Friday night. There's a lot of arms out there that, the Blue Jays aren't able to use, unfortunately, in these high leverage scenarios. And you think of guys that are on this roster like Chris Bassitt. I don't think, just given the fact that he didn't pitch in the DS, he came in for 2 innings on Monday and mop up, he's probably not an option, even though he's given this team a lot, obviously, over the course of this season and the past, and he seems capable in the bullpen role. The thing that excites me about Monday is you have Kevin Gausman available if needed. You have Max Scherzer available if needed. And at the same time, the Seattle Mariners have obviously Brian Wu is, I think, going to be a big factor. Spire is going to be a big factor as a lefty. And, they'll probably be able to use a little bit of Bryce Miller if they really want to. So, this is the most exciting thing of it all because, for the Blue Jays in this scenario, it was throw everything out the window. The Yankees were in that spot in Game 4 in the DS. Toronto never got to it, obviously, since they were in control of the series. But in a winner-take-all game, like we saw, with the Mariners and the Tigers going 15 innings, you basically saw everybody, that there's just no script for this. So I think the one thing that gives me a lot of confidence for tomorrow is all 3 of the Blue Jays wins have not been competitive for the Seattle Mariners, in large part to what the Blue Jays are doing, obviously, but the Mariners have done a little bit to themselves, especially tonight with the 3 errors. But I think it's got to be really exciting for the Blue Jays to know, hey, yeah, you did lose 2 at home, which is very uncharacteristic of, this baseball club this season to start the series. You really blew one on Friday night. This series could certainly be over by now, but you are back at home. And it's the Mariners that have all the pressure on them. And they really have, really since I think the Blue Jays won Game 3 and got themselves off the mat a little bit. So in terms of the bullpen arms, I think you're going to see, you're probably going to see Louis Varland tomorrow for his 9th appearance in 10 baseball games this postseason. You're probably going to see Seranthony Dominguez. I think Jeff Hoffman can give you 3. If, he's shown that he's capable against the top of the order. I think that's, if there's a spot where, that inning starts with the 1, 2, or 3 hitters, maybe, obviously he has to start with a clean inning. I think he, wouldn't come in relief. I don't think that's a good idea. And other than that, yeah, let's look at Kevin Gausman. Let's look at Max Scherzer. And I fully expect that Shane Bieber, after that, quick little blip in the first inning in Game 3, is going to come back and show, everyone why the Blue Jays sought him at the trade deadline, and why he's a Cy Young winner, and he's going to deliver for this team. So I'm very confident in our pitching tomorrow.
I'm surprised you didn't have Brayden Little in that circle of trust. It's crazy how things work out.
Him and Yariel Rodriguez could probably sit in the stands.
I completely agree there, but it's crazy how things work out. Hey, like you look at game 5, these exact situations, the 8th inning, 2, 3, 4 hitters come up. You look at this situation once again. You have Jeff Hoffman. You have the same thing. It's the exact same situation. It's Cal Raleigh, it's Jorge Polanco, and then it's Josh Naylor. 2, 3, 4 hitters once again. You look at you go back to Game 4. What did they do when they took out, or they had that situation in the 8th inning? They went to Jeff Hoffman. So obviously something went very wrong in Game 5. And now when you look at the circle of trust, to be honest, it's Louis Varland, it's Seranthony Dominguez, which might be debatable, like he's still in mine, and it's Jeff Hoffman. At this point, you go to Chris Bassitt, you go to Kevin Gausman. You look at what the Mariners did in that 15-inning game against the Detroit Tigers. They went Spire, they went Brash, Munoz, and then they go Gilbert. And then they go Bizardo, but then they throw Luis Castillo. So at this point, it's Game 7. You're throwing everything at the wall. You're not throwing Brendan Little. You're not throwing Yariel Rodriguez. You're not throwing Brayden Fisher, which is a little bit of a more interesting situation because he's really good in high leverage, but he's not very good in low leverage. You're not going to get to high leverage if you're not good in low leverage. So at this point, I think you kind of have to throw Brendan Little to kind of the wall as well, or the wayside. So yeah, it's Kevin Gausman's Bassitt, and then you got those 3. Louis Varland is almost a shoe-in. I think it's almost guaranteed at this point. You're going to see Louis Varland. Jeff Hoffman could have threw 77 pitches. He would have been available, and he's going to tell John Schneider that he'll be ready to go as well. So it's going to come down to those guys. You got to hope that Shane Bieber can give you a good outing, can give you a quality start, and after that, it's all hands on deck.
Well, and yeah, you guys brought up some great points. It's all hands on deck because not only is it a do or die game, Game 7, but you have plenty of days off after. Right. So you don't have to start thinking about the next series if in case. And I know you can't because it's Game 7 anyway, but that would always be lingering in the back of somebody's mind if you started this series in 2 days. But instead, you have some time here. So guys can get rested up, and your best guys can be ready to go for Game 1. So you have to focus on this game, the here and the now, and use that circle of trust. Don't go outside of it. Don't try to make some big brain analytic move. Go with the guys that have done it for you up until this point. And I think what we saw to Louis Varland tonight and Jeff Hoffman together is the want to win, the want to be out there in those big situations. And we've heard from guys like that. I mean, Shane Bieber, Kevin Gausman coming out and saying that he will be ready to go shows you how this team is built. And yes, a lot of starting pitchers would say that, but I don't necessarily think that they're thinking, oh, Kevin Gausman's going to come in and give us 1 inning. They're like, well, if we're bringing Kevin Gausman in, we might ask him to go 3. We might ask him to go 4. Whoever is our best guy in that specific moment, whoever is playing their best, that's where we go. And I think that's a can't be understated going into a Game 7. Now, a couple more things I wanted to get into before we really tee up that Game 7 has to be the way that George Springer looked, because every swing he took, it looked like he was crumbling in pain. Now I know you have to play him, right? The guys on the field wouldn't feel the same. But man, like, I don't know. You're not even looking like you're taking competitive swings. And some of them were, but the feeling that you get as a fan watching this guy fall to his knees after every swing, it's got to worry you a little bit. Maybe this was because it wasn't a big break in between. And maybe he just needed an extra day to get, for that bruising to go away. Skylar, I don't know. What did you see from George Schneider? Are you a little bit concerned about him?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw him getting out of the box a couple of times, heading back to the dugout, and it looked tough, man. But I actually think his at-bats were pretty good. He's obviously got an elite eye. He's one of the very best players in the MLB over the last 10 years for a reason. I think he can put the bat on the ball. I do worry about him batting leadoff because we've seen a lot in this series where, the Jays leadoff hitter in any particular inning, not necessarily just George Springer, has, hit a double. And, if they don't score some runs, which has been the case a couple of times, unfortunately, at least they're putting the pressure on the Mariners defense, which, isn't as good as, the flip side. And if the Mariners were to do that to the Blue Jays, and obviously with George Springer's speed, there wasn't a situation today where he got beat out on a throw to first or anything like that. But, I think those hits that you would expect to maybe turn into a single or at least be somewhat close might not be with George Springer. I would, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a doctor, but I wouldn't expect him to look any better tomorrow. So I think, you really got to kind of shorten the leash on what you can expect from George, but some of the, the fundamentals, the eye, putting a good swing on it, if he hits it into the outfield, we've seen what the bottom of the order has done. Hopefully those guys are on base when the lineup turns over and he can drive in a couple of runs and sit on first and, do the base, whatever, the move the line thing for the guys after a big RBI, something like that. But, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like Nathan Lucas leading off or some other option. I don't know. I'll ask you guys, like if it wasn't George leading off for the Blue Jays tomorrow, who'd you want in there? I think there's got to be an option, and it's probably something that John Schneider is considering tonight.
I think for me, like the only option that you can really do is you throw Ernie Clement in the number one spot. And the way he's been hitting the baseball, again, we talked about how effective he has been, almost setting records in the playoffs. So I think you would go Ernie Clement if you were going to move someone. It's tough with George Springer because this guy is the heart and soul of this team. But it was clearly obvious that this guy is not 100%. Like he's using the baseball bat as a cane pretty much walking back to the dugout. It's not exactly what you want to see. And if you have him at that leadoff spot, like the reason that we love George Springer there, for me at least compared to Bichette, is you have that speed. If he gets a single, he gets walked, whatever it may be, and Nathan Lucas hits a ball to right field, George Springer is going to be on third base. Now, if this game's happening tomorrow, like you said, Skylar, I can't imagine it's going to get a whole lot better. Is he going to play? Absolutely. There's no way George Springer's not going to play in this game. But you got to think that maybe the base running aggressiveness probably won't quite be there, considering that he didn't look very mobile at the plate. And then just in terms of maybe pressure kind of gets involved here as well. It's game 7. It's an ALCS, the biggest game the Toronto Blue Jays have played since 1993. George Springer has been in these moments time and time again. For a guy like Ernie Clement, for a guy like Nathan Lucas, this is all kind of new to them. They haven't really been in these moments before, and it hasn't gotten to them to this point, and it really hasn't gotten to the Toronto Blue Jays at all as a team in totality. But you got to think with the pressure elevated, with the stakes as high as they possibly could be, that might be looming a little bit in their heads. But if George Springer, like you kind of just have to ask him that, to be completely honest. Like if you're John Schneider, you got to be like, hey, George, be honest, are you going to be good to go? And he's going to tell you that he is. And you're going to have to look in his eyes and you're going to have to make that decision. Is he lying to me right now? Which he probably is. But is he good enough to be in that number one spot? Or is Ernie Clement going to be more beneficial in that number one spot? For me, I don't think they change anything.
Carter, you know me. I'm not a believer in juju or whatever, but I am a big believer in where you hit in the lineup that does determine your play a little bit. If it's comfortability,
well, we've seen that with the Blue Jays for some reason. Again, I'm not sure what the underlying reason is, but there's definitely something there, right?
Well, and I've told you this story. I mean, coaching and playing ball, certain guys just feel better, right? I was never a big leadoff guy, but I'd hit 2. Or this guy it doesn't feel good hitting 5, but man, can he smoke the ball when he's hitting 7, right? It's a bit of a mental game. It's a little bit about what you see before you. Some guys can go in the box, see a couple warm-up pitches and be locked and ready to go. Some guys need to see some live at-bats. That's just how things are. And I don't know if you move Ernie Clement, because I think you want him in that bottom of the order with a little bit of speed, with the ability to move runners, with the ability to get extra base hits or just even singles and keep the train moving. And I don't know that you want to mess with any of that. And I think George Springer, at least, is the leadoff guy. So it's like, okay, worst case, you flip it to Nathan Lucas, who's been solid. You flip it to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and then you get back to the heart of the order. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think that, yes, Skylar, you touched on it, the singles in the infield, if he's going to run those out, he's not going to win those. You can't watch what he did this past game and expect him to do that. You need him to drive the ball to the outfield, find a gap, and play a little bit of base to base. And this team can do that. They've been successful at that. So I'm not overly concerned, but every time that he takes a swing and drops to a knee, your heart sinks a little bit, because you don't know if, that's going to be the play that they got to pull him because he can't move now. Right. And yes, they're probably going to amp him up on whatever they can, if it's, the 2 Advil I popped before curling, so my knee doesn't hurt. It's
probably a little stronger than that.
Yeah, just maybe.
Yeah. So again, they got to use all this, right? And they're going to look at all their options, but we can't sit here and, say how a player in the game 7 of an ALCS is going to feel, because we've never been there before. These guys probably leave it up to them, especially a veteran like George Springer. So I have all the faith in the world with this guy. But another guy that I wanted to talk about before we sort of tee up Game 7 here.
Can I add one
yeah,
quick
I
thing?
got one tiny thing after as well.
Okay. Well, I agree with Carter that I don't think they're going to change anything. And the reason I agree with that is because of what you said, Brayden, because you want Ernie Clement down in, the 6-7 area because he's been so dangerous. And that's been a big advantage for the Blue Jays in this series. Like when you get down into the Dominic Canzones, of the world in the Seattle Mariners lineup, like we saw that obviously in the bottom of the 9th, I'm not too concerned.
JP Crawford's down there. Like
no, JP. Yeah. Like I'm a big JP Crawford guy for some reason. I really don't have any affinity for the Seattle Mariners, but there's something about JP Crawford that I've always loved. But yeah, I mean, those guys could have a tennis racket out there. And obviously I think the advantage still lies with the Blue Jays pitchers, or the ones that, will be on the mound anyway. So I just think that, I think this lineup's probably going to look a lot the same tomorrow.
Well, I just think with John Schneider too, it's like throughout the year, like let's go back to 2024. How long did it take him to take George Springer out of the leadoff spot when it was literally the worst thing we've ever seen in our entire lives?
So don't do it now. What's the point?
And he's been good. I know the swings maybe weren't up to par of what we've seen this entire season, but I agree with you, Skylar. I don't think the at-bats were necessarily bad. I just think that he was going all out every single swing and he was feeling it every single swing. And that's kind of what we saw. So yeah, I don't expect John Schneider to switch anything when this is kind of what's gotten you to this spot that you're in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that those are fair points. Like, and that's the exact reason why I don't want it switched, because I think he's still got a good eye at the plate. He still knows what he wants to swing at. Maybe the power necessarily won't be the same because you do get a little bit of a pullback because it's going to hurt you sort of when you swing. Those are situations that he's going to have to watch out for, just to have the ability to play through. And if there's a guy that I believe can do that, I think it is George Springer. But in the same vein, I again, want to talk a little bit about Daulton Varsho and sort of what you guys have seen from him as of late. Some of the swings have looked really, really bad. But when this guy makes contact, man, he can kill it. So it's a little bit of give or take, right? It's the swing and miss stuff that's in Daulton Varsho's game that we always have known. But some of the swings have been just pretty horrific. Skylar, I mean, I don't want to completely say I'm completely out on Daulton Varsho, nothing like that. We see that he can do damage, but some of them are pretty brutal.
Yeah, I don't see, any adjustment that really can be made before tomorrow. With Daulton, obviously today was a little bit better. The strikeout was really, really bad on Friday night. I was waiting to see how long into the episode. Obviously, you had to lead with what the lead was on Friday. When I was listening Saturday morning, I was waiting for someone to mention, especially the third strike. It was terrible. But we've seen it with Addison Barger in this series. He looked a little lost out there as well. I mean, we saw with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He went 0 for 7 in games 1 and 2. And I think he's doing just fine as well. So, maybe there's something, he can do, hit the trajectory machine, the guys that you're going to expect for the Seattle Mariners. And it's just one at bat, just put the bat on the ball. Maybe it's a big moment. Maybe it gets the line moving depending on where the inning is. But I think, Daulton Varsho is probably penciled in for that 5 spot as well. And, obviously the defense is an asset for the Toronto Blue Jays. And if that's all he gives this team, I think there's enough guys that can pick up the rest of the order.
Yeah, obviously at the 5 spot, like you hope he can come through, and he's going to be in spots where he's going to be hitting with bases or with runners on base. Like that's just inevitable. Like you're at the number 5 spot, you have all these guys in front of you that have been playing so effectively that Daulton Varsho is going to come up with in some big moments. We don't need him to get a home run every single swing, but it might just take one. It might just all we need is one single, one walk, one AB, whatever it is. That might be the difference, as we've seen so many times between a win and a loss for our Toronto Blue Jays. But it all comes down to this. We got one more game for the rest of our lives until hopefully we get to the World Series, but you got to take one step at a time here. And we're going to break down exactly what we think is going to happen in Game 7 coming up.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know we're all big fans of FanDuel on this show. I just won a ton of money thanks to some football, thanks to the Toronto Blue Jays getting a win, and I will sit here and brag about that on the FanDuel ad every day of the week. NFL season, baseball season, hockey season, CFL, it's all here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I mean, that's a steal. That's the largest set of bonus bets I've seen while doing this ad. It was $150 once. It was $200 once. Now you're up to the $300. If you don't take advantage of that, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest with you. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. I had to bring out my bets. I just had to do it.
I was actually going to say, when Brayden's winning because we'll see the bet slips flying around. And, we're doing the same thing. And it's been very good since, Wednesday Wednesday for our group chat, obviously. But I never need to know if Brayden's going to come on, do the FanDuel read and talk about how ice cold he's been, because I haven't heard anything from him in weeks. So it's been a good time to be on FanDuel. It's been a good time for, Toronto Blue Jays fans, whether you're putting cold hard cash to put your butt in the seat or, you're sitting 4,000 kilometers away like me and just catching it on the couch and supporting the guys.
See, I don't know where the horseshoe is either, because usually I have this guy's number in football fantasy, but he finally got me. I think it's the second time ever that he's gotten me. So
I saw Brayden rode with your Panthers today. I saw it. So yeah, one of his many wins.
They made that a little bit tougher than I thought it would have been. Shout out to Matthew also for being a Panthers fan out there. We were going through it a little bit today, but luckily both teams got out of it on the right side. But yeah, Game 7, we know the pitching matchups. The Seattle Mariners have released George Kirby as their Game 7 starter. Pretty predictable. And then Shane Bieber, as we knew, for the Toronto Blue Jays. Brayden, I'll throw it over to you. What are you expecting from Shane Bieber, and what are you expecting from the Toronto Blue Jays in this big moment?
Yeah, you know what, Carter? It comes down to much of the same, right? It's the stuff we've talked about not even just this series, but just as a whole, this whole season. It's playing Toronto Blue Jays baseball, right? I don't know what it is with the 5 2/3 innings with these starting pitchers.
Yeah.
So, but just expect 5 2/3 innings because that's what it is.
But FanDuel's probably got a line for that for you somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, look up the bet slip. That's for sure. So yeah, it's much of the same. Expect some decent pitching from Shane Bieber. Hopefully it's great. Hopefully it's 5 2/3, a 2-run ball, and this offense continues to do what they do. Right? It's put bats on ball. It's making the defense make plays. It's coming up in the big moments with runners in scoring position. It's not letting those opportunities pass you by. That's where this team gets hurt, right? Carter, you talked about it earlier in the episode, the amount of times this team gets a leadoff double to start an inning and being able to push that run across, that's massive. I mean, that's how you change ball games with little plays like that, adding on here, adding on there. It doesn't have to all come in one inning. It can be 3, 4, 5 innings throughout a game that you add 1 or 2 runs. And that's what wins you baseball games. And that's why this team has been so good, right? The old adage, get them on, get them over, get them in. That's what you got to do here. And I know I'm sitting here, armchair manager. It's easier said than done. But that's the MO of this ball club. So as long as they can continue to play their brand of baseball, I don't think we have to necessarily worry about what the Seattle Mariners are bringing to the table. It's, can this ball club show up like they have been?
Yeah, I completely. Sorry, I'll just jump in quick. I completely agree because, we have seen all of this from the Toronto Blue Jays for most of the season. I think Seattle Mariners fans are looking for something that they maybe haven't seen in order to win this game. Because like I said earlier, when the Blue Jays have won in the series, all 3 games have been, fairly lopsided in terms of, an ALCS scoreline. So, for Shane Bieber, he is probably the coolest guy. He's like the anti-Max Scherzer, right? Like, which is hilarious when he threw Game 3 and Scherzer's in there for Game 4 yelling at John Schneider. Like, just 2 different customers, right? I expect, Bieber to manage, the crowd and the pressure fine. That's why he's here. That's why he's a Cy Young winner. The one thing I am looking for is first pitch strikes, because when I feel like the Mariners have, got on the Blue Jays in this series, it's not because of them, hunting balls, except for one of the Cal Raleigh home runs, earlier in the series. They're not really hunting balls out of the zone. They're happy to let those go. Obviously, we saw that on Friday night with Brendan Little. Shane Bieber, if he doesn't necessarily have his stuff to start this game, that's fine. If he has good location, and, going back to his very first start with the Blue Jays, he was absolutely painting corners, especially with the first pitch thrown to batters. So that's what I'm looking for in particular for Shane Bieber. And one final note, it is the municipal election in Alberta tomorrow. I will be covering that for Global Television. I dreaded Game 7, the possibility of it at the start of this series. And then when the Blue Jays went down 2-0, obviously, I felt like, this had to happen. Not only that, I am a fan of a Seattle sports team. It's the Seattle Seahawks. They're playing on Monday Night Football, and our Winnipeg Jets are here in Calgary taking on the Flames tomorrow. I will hopefully be talking to Calgary's next mayor. I'll be at a couple of spots there. I will be blind for this game tomorrow, unless this one goes very quickly. 5 p.m. Mountain Time start. Our show starts at 9. Obviously, I can't be on the phone at 8:59. So I hope Shane Bieber's throwing a lot of strikes tomorrow. If we could get the party started.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. I could not even imagine.
Maybe that, like, I wouldn't know what to do if I was sitting at the couch. Like, I don't have enough TVs for this. I can't go down to the Saddle Dome while the Jays are playing Game 7 and watch the Jets. So maybe this is a good thing. It just took everything right out of the equation. But I have never been. This is the furthest any of my sports teams have gone in 10 years. Since the Blue Jays were last in the ALCS. Obviously, for the Blue Jays, it's the furthest they've gone since 1993. It's been a long wait. We in our lifetimes, obviously, gentlemen, have never been here. I just want to say I'm so excited for it, and let's hope there's several more to come starting on Friday.
Yeah, we gotta hope for one more. That's all we can ask for. And I'm not even gonna go to my my big moments as a sports fan, because they all end in me, being very tearful. There's a lot of pain. Yeah, so let's just hopefully change the narrative, at least for me. But you need Shane Bieber. Like he's gonna have to be effective. With Kevin Gausman available, with all these bullpen arms, you're gonna need at least 4 from Shane Bieber. And it's, again, we talk about the offense. Seattle Mariners have scored more than 4 runs 2 different times throughout the postseason. Toronto Blue Jays have done that a lot of times. So if you can score 5, 6, 7 runs, get to George Kirby early, like they did in Game 3, that is going to be able to set them up for success. I believe in Shane Bieber. Again, it's the same idea for me with Trey Yesavage. I'm not too worried about the pitching. I kind of know what they're going to give us. Is can the offense score 5 runs? I think 5 runs will probably get it done. Again, I want 8, I want 10, I want 1 million, but let's start with 5. Let's get there. I think that will be enough for the Toronto Blue Jays to move on to the World Series.
Let us know what you guys think. We want to hear about everything down in the comment section below. You guys left us 600 comments, so we were trying to get back to a lot of you guys. If not, we were liking them. We were seeing everything. I mean, I'm up. I have the YouTube app open, just scrolling through comments, laughing at a few, sometimes being a little annoyed. But, when it comes to Brendan Little, there was a lot to laugh at, I guess.
Well, I mean, we talked for him for 25 minutes? Like that, I mean, you can't complain about the people.
Didn't even mention the score of the baseball game. Guys,
more important things.
Yeah, hey, like my emotions were going through the roof. I think I was going to break my laptop if I didn't get that out. So the score could wait in that instance.
Yeah, and we appreciate all of you guys. Really, it's been a fantastic season. Having everybody
not over yet. Don't say this yet, fellas.
That's right. Hey, but I have to give.
The show goes on.
We hit 4,000, and I'm over the moon. This team is doing fantastic. It really all. The amount of fun we can have on here goes to some of the comments and responses we get from all of you guys, whether it's on the TikToks, the shorts, the Instagram reels, or whatever they're called, or here on YouTube. Man, it's been just fantastic. So shout out to all you guys. Hopefully everybody enjoys Game 7. I don't know who we have to pray to. I don't know if it's the good Lord himself. I don't know if it's baseball Jesus. I don't know. Pick your choice.
Edward Rogers.
Pray to everybody at this point.
I'll be right here.
Pick a name out of a hat. Yeah. We got to do it to everybody because it is going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully, it ends in a good way. And we get to talk about the World Series coming after tomorrow. So, again, thank you guys so much. Any last words from either of you two?
I just want to see 2 things from you guys. One, I want to see some score predictions to add to the madness. Why not? And give me a moment. One player is going to have a moment in this game. One guy is probably going to be the hero. Let me know who you think it is. But Skylar, you got anything else to add for, I guess we don't hear from you and you're going to be, wondering what happened in Game 7.
Yeah. Well, I assume you'll be running the pod by the time I get home too. So it's going to be a crazy night tomorrow, but looking forward to all of it.
Will be blowing up as well. So
yeah, well,
you're going to have to mute it.
Yeah, the group chat has to be muted. I don't know. I got all day to figure that out before I go into work at 4. But I just want to say, we ride or die with the results of, this baseball team's games for now 170 games we've played now. No, 172.
6, 4, yeah. There you go.
172 games. And, there have been Blue Jays fans that have been watching this team for longer than we have been alive.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of disappointment and, win or lose tomorrow, but hopefully win. I think just embrace the moment. Be happy that your team got you here. There have been a lot of baseball fans that have sat on the couch since about May and known this was never a possibility. These moments are fleeting. This is what we live for as sports fans. Hopefully there is a moment tomorrow that, cements itself in the annals of all of our brains forever as Blue Jays fans. I think it's going to be an Addison Barger home run. And I think the Blue Jays win 6-4. That's my final prediction.
Carter?
No, I think we let Skylar kind of start it off. We let the people, do their thing, and then we'll come in after. And we'll have to be honest. I know, Brayden, you might finagle your way to just try to, go roll with your FanDuel bets here. But I'll text you, you'll text me, and we'll kind of go over what ours are on tomorrow's episode, because we are already taking this a little bit late, obviously, as well. But yeah, leave us your score predictions, and then give us a moment. Give us the one player that might change this postseason for the Toronto Blue Jays. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys once again tomorrow.